Elon just become the world's first trillionaire. That's insane. Is this too much money? As a Chinese immigrant who is like American, what's my thought on famous politicians, streamers' reactions to this insane news, exciting news? And what are some common sense take on this event, right? Today we're going to go over all of them. So make sure to like, share, and watch till the end. So for those who do not know, which is, you cannot not know, you have to know, Elon Musk just become the world's first trillionaire when SpaceX went public, right? And he has about 30 to 40% of the stock, I believe, which is worth about $870 billion on paper. That jumped his net worth along with Tesla and some other stocks that he owns to over $1 trillion. Here we go. Musk holds approximately 42% of SpaceX equity through a dual-class share structure. That is insane, that how much power he has. I didn't know he owns this much of SpaceX because it wasn't public before until now, I think. But this is a really, really exciting news. I think some of my friends actually bought the IPO, but they only got one share because there's so many people buying it, so much demand out of it. A lot of people want a piece of the future, and Elon Musk literally represents the only person of the future. I didn't get into it. I want to buy quite a bit much later, about a few months later, but it is very exciting news. So first of all, is this too much money? In my opinion, I don't think so. I don't know, right? Because what is too much money? What is too little money? It's easy for us to find or to see, to gauge what is too little money when you don't have enough money to pay for food. That's poverty, right? But what is too much money? Because one can easily argue after, for me, I calculate all my expenses, the lifestyle, my dream lifestyle, my retirement lifestyle. After I make a certain amount of money to a certain point, the rest of the money, any extra money I would make, it wouldn't add any extra comfort to my life, right? But from a capital accumulation standpoint, if I don't mess up, the money will keep on growing. And that will be for the next generation and generations to come. So is it too much money? Nobody knows, right? Because at a certain point, it's about asset allocation. At a certain point of the wealth, it's no longer just a number. It's how much money they have. It's society's trust. I remember watching Warren Buffett's interview one time, and he said the money he has is more an indicator of the trust the society have given him, right? The more money he owns is the more trust people have given him because they trust his management of the money, which is such a profound way of looking at this. And Elon Musk is the exact same way, right? The reason why he needs more money, clearly it's not going to affect his lifestyle. He actually lives a pretty modest lifestyle, besides the security he clearly needs. And then lots of kids he had to raise. But besides what he needed personally, which wouldn't need more than, I don't know, if he's worth $1 billion, now he's worth $1 trillion, which is 1,000 billion. It's hard to imagine. It's just asset allocation. He needed more money to send rockets into space, to build, to take human into intergalactic or multiplanetary lifestyle, turn human race into a multiplanetary race. And that requires a lot of money. It makes sense, but the money, in my opinion, on top of the fact that people trust him from an asset allocation standpoint, is also just a value he created for the society. Because there are a lot of things that I use from Elon Musk, right? I have Starlink. And it's really cool because when I travel in Texas, just driving from Austin to Houston, Austin to Dallas, a lot of the highway areas are just blind spots. I don't get signal. If my wife and I, because we work on social media businesses, and I want to take a trip, our work never stops, and I want to take a road trip and change the location at least for my work. Not too long ago, I went to Wimberley, for a little getaway, weekend getaway, because it's a retirement area and it's really beautiful. And when I went over there, there's no signal. If I had Starlink, this is 2 months ago, I wouldn't have that problem because I just bought it because of that, the frustration it caused me. And now when I go to those areas that doesn't have signal, I just Starlink with a battery bank. I don't even need a wire. Boom, I'm plugged in, I'm good. 30, 100 downloads, depends, right? Depends on the blockade to the sky. And then, because it's in a car sometimes, so there's a big fat window blocking the signal, I suppose. Satellite signal sometimes. So they're at 30 downloads, which is still more than enough for most of my work need, on the road at least, right? That's insane. That's insane value for me. If I go on, I think 38 companies, if not more, have signed deal to work with Starlink to provide internet online. And I watched a streamer did 1080p streams on a private jet before with Starlink. That's insane. Because once Starlink is available to commercial airlines, they have to make most of the commercial airlines, I assume, will make Wi-Fi free as a perk. because that's how free market works. They have to compete for customers. If I know I can get free Wi-Fi from Delta and not United, I'm gonna book more Delta, or vice versa, right? And especially Starlink, super cheap, super duper cheap for this airlines to implement. So, I mean, he has provided so much value. You go on the street, it's all Tesla cars, right? It's all supercharge stations. In China, supercharge stations are everywhere. He has created so much value. So the money that he owns or generated or he's worth is society rewarding him for creating value, right? I said this in the past. Napoleon Hill mentioned Think and Grow Rich. In the book Think and Grow Rich, the worth you have is equivalent to how much value you have created for the society. It's proportional or maybe exponential, right? But this is exactly how Elon Musk is worth that much. Like he never stole, he never took from anybody, right? In fact, he gave a lot of money. I think billions of dollars in taxpayer money. So I'm not trying to suck him off or anything because I don't really know him, right? Or he doesn't know me. I've watched a lot of news about Elon Musk. But the idea is this too much money? I don't think it's for any of one of us to judge because the money that he's worth is society's value of his contribution to the society, right? Or trust of his contribution to the society. So if anything, I think it's worth, right? In a way, just because this is way beyond our comprehension of money, but it is what is worth now. Okay, next I want to talk about, which is some famous politicians' reaction to Elon Musk reaching $1 trillion, right? This is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I want to make sure I read her name correctly. She's actually an interesting figure because she got, when I started to get interested in learning politics or just watching it for entertainment purposes, she's frequently in the news. And then I think she's an interesting figure, right? Her take, I don't really agree with 99.9% of them, but she knows how to get the news around. And then modern politics is all about being popular, right? If modern politicians are not doing social media, you shouldn't be a politician. I think you're too old. You should retire, right? Let other people do their job, right? Because you simply don't understand how the information age work. But AOC knows, and she posted this. But taxing wealth so normal people can afford to see a doctor not go bankrupt over inhalers is radical left. This sounds extremely good on paper. Extremely good on paper. But this is literally a stupid take because this is so insincere and it's just not how like healthcare system work. The healthcare is so expensive. Like when I first came to United States, by the way, United States healthcare, it is a huge commodity. There's a huge complex of just people making money off each other, including the government, including a lot of people in the healthcare, right? And that's just getting money from the American public. You're a politician. Your job is to solve it. It's not Elon Musk. If I go to any Asian country, SEA, growing up in China, I can see a doctor anytime I want to for $10. I can go see emergency room without insurance, $10, $5. I can get medicine. I can get whatever I needed. If I need a shot in my arm, they will put some IV, right? Whatever I needed. But here it's insanely expensive. Now, whose fault is that? It's not AOC's fault. But it's definitely her job as a politician representing the public to try to fix it. Because why else are you in office, as a politician? You're supposed to represent your constituent and then help them. So here at taxing the wealth so normal people can afford to see a doctor, that is so stupid because so much money has been given to the government and nothing has been solved. This has been there before Elon Musk, way before Elon Musk was a trillionaire, getting close to it, right? And Senator Bernie Sanders said, today, Elon Musk, a trillionaire, pays the same amount into Social Security as someone making $180,000. If we end the absurdity and lift the cap on taxable income, we can make Social Security solvent for 75 years and expand the benefit by $2,400. This will need to be, Grok actually probably check. Social Security payroll tax applies to wages up to $184,000 cap in 2026. So anyone at or above, it pays the same maximum contributions. Basically, Elon Musk doesn't get anything from Social Security more than because he started making way too much, right? Now, I think that, and also Bernie have sent more where it's no time. I think he said there's no time to celebrate. Maybe I pulled a wrong tweet when Elon Musk become a trillionaire. He says absolutely not time to celebrate because this is sad for American society or whatever. Let me see if I can find the tweet, which is so interesting. I don't know why is it not time to celebrate? Because if anything, you would want the first trillionaire to come out of United States than any other countries. By the way, truly, I don't think Elon Musk is the first trillionaire. It's just a lot of trillionaires don't really want to show off their wealth, especially from Middle East. Because right now, like if you look at Middle East, they're like how much parties they're throwing with gaming, with different events, getting musicians to Middle East, spending billions and billions per night, right? I mean, like those events literally cost nothing to the princes, right, of the Middle East, because they all have oil money, but their oil money is not really reported on how much money they actually own. So it's like I think there are a lot of trillionaires that we just don't know of, right? Elon Musk for sure not the first, but Elon Musk is the first publicly known trillionaire. So this is also funny. Elon Musk, the wealthiest man alive, got a USAID, which supports some of the poorest people in the world. Now there's an Ebola outbreak in Congo, which USAID could have helped prevent or slow. When you dismantle the system that stop deadly disease, people needless to die. I watched a video on toxic generosity from America. I think it's absolutely true. America has given other countries or meddled in other countries' politics, or given them too much money. It actually have adverse effect, right? Instead of local system adjusting itself, that local government or local community should have taken care of its own people, now they're fully dependent state on other people, which is sad to see. And this is the type of mentality that caused it to happen. The thing is, though, it's not up to any person to decide how the taxpayer money should be spent. You look at like how America is so behind right now. People are homeless on the street, and there's drug problem, immigration problem. By the way, it has been largest, I wouldn't say largest solved because it just closed, the borders closed. But immigration issue is huge in America still. There are a lot of issues in America. Why spend more money outside of it? As a Chinese immigrant, it's just a huge cultural shock to me, right? When your country is already broke, and let's still talk about spending money elsewhere. No one understood this. You can ask, by the way, some of the Chinese, if they're born here, like Nila Lin, right? In a video we're talking about NY riot, she probably agree. Some entitled kids who are born here, actually brainwashed, will probably think the same way as a lot of other entitled kids. But if it's a Chinese immigrant who grew up in China, came here, you can ask. I'm almost certain 100% of the people will say this is bullshit. This type of take is so like, it's a bullshit take. It doesn't make any sense from the cultural background how we're raised, right? It doesn't. You can say this is a cold, hard. You guys are so heartless or cold. No, it's just you don't have money to give right now. You have to be physically responsible. Yes, being generous is an American trait. Being generous, right, and being generous overall is nice, and you can do that on your own. Nobody's stopping you from doing that on your own personal dime. But using taxpayer money when your own country is suffering doesn't make sense. And you can't make that make sense. There's no universe that makes sense. It just doesn't. So, I mean, this is another take from Mr. Bernie. I guess the crown jewel has to go to Elizabeth Warren. This is a great example of hypocrisy. Like I love it. I think either from when you watch American politics, from the left or the right, the best part, the most fun part is hypocrisy. Is people say stuff and they do the completely opposite. Look at Elizabeth Warren, right? Elon Musk just became the world's first trillionaire. The typical American household would have to work more than 11 million years to make Elon Musk's level of wealth. The thing is, Elizabeth Warren, I think, is worth like $12 million. Is using her standard, use $12 million actually. Let me just ask Grok, right? I can just do this and then click on this and ask Grok. Grok, like X is actually so convenient. So if I look this up, I said, I'll just ask Grok with this contact, how much is Warren worth at the moment? Right? How much is Elizabeth Warren worth at this point, right? She posts compared to median U.S. household income, roughly $83,000 to $85,000, requiring $13 million of foreigning to match Musk's net worth. That's speaking for a lot of people who don't care about making that much money to begin with. But let's take a look. Senator Warren is worth $78 million at the mid 2026. There are key details of recent sources. Quiver Quantitative, right? 7.1 million. TheStreet.com at least 8 million. Historic Contact, Open Secrets pegged it at 8 million in 2018. Forbes estimated 12 million. That's the number that I saw, right? 12 million. I think, and I believe it. By the way, I believe she's worth 12 million. I also watched some people talking about how Elizabeth Warren is making $200,000 a year. That's her salary as a senator, and then she's worth 12 million. and that sounds wrong. It's not wrong at all. If you make $200,000 a year and you being financially responsible for responsible for over the past like 3 decades, it makes sense you were worth $12 million. That's totally doable in American society. If you invest according, like you do a 401k, invest like 15-20% of your salary, and then just do that responsibly over a period of time, and you just invest in a simple Vanguard index fund, right? And which has performed, I believe it's 14% over the past 20, 30 years. You do that compounding for a few decades, 12 million is totally doable. In fact, if you do that, and that's 200,000, a lot of money. If you do that for a few decades, not only 12 million, I think she probably end up with like 40, 50 million. And that's just the power of math, right? And for those who don't understand it, we can make a video in the future. But for Elizabeth Warren to worth 12 million is totally doable. That's not my point. The point is using her standard, $12 million, and then divided by 85,000. So let's say let's use the 12 million net worth, right, number. How many years does an average worker have to work to make that much? Let's take a look, right? How many years does an average worker making $85,000 a year can make $12 million? Using $12 million, median annual income, you have to make salary approximately, calculation, 193.5 years. Yeah, 100. By the way, I don't know why there are dollar sign in front of it. This is actually probably a mistake or 187 years, right? I mean, if we use that standard, this is a $62,000 income or $64,000 income. I mean, Mrs. Warren, you're making way too much. A regular American worker have to work 200 years in order to get to your income. I mean, you get your net worth. Like, what do you say about that? Right? I think that's too much. Because the thing is, she is deciding, like, this is basically herself deciding this is too much money, because a regular worker will have to work 11 million years to get Elon Musk wealth. In her logic, at least in the logic of this post, in the same logic, in the same token, then a regular worker would have to work close to 200 years, which is still too much. How about we deal with that first? How about we redistribute that wealth? The 12 million that you are worth before we go to Elon Musk. I think that also makes sense. Why are we stopping at Elon Musk? Let's chop everybody's wealth, right? And she won't do that. 100% she will not do it. That's the idea. And that's why this is so hypocritic. Yeah, it's just like, it doesn't make any sense. You're saying this, not looking at yourself in the mirror. Because all the thing that she is proposing, redistributing wealth and all that kind of stuff, she can start from herself, right? Because all this wealth is now sitting in an asset or in a bank somewhere. It's actually tangible asset she owns, and she can liquidate immediately. Where it compared to, because it's not that much money in a broader scheme of the market. But if you look at Elon Musk, if you make Elon Musk's money completely solvent, right? Just basically make him sell all this money, sell his stock to pay federal government taxes, it will literally crash the market because he owns too much. Elon Musk simply owns too much. Elizabeth Warren, she will not affect the market one bit. That means she can actually just sell everything she owns and redistribute the wealth. I can easily make, anyone can make this simple statement saying that, okay, well, why do you need $12 million? $1 million is more than enough. Are you saying that $1 million is not sufficient for you to make a living in the United States? I don't think so. I think majority of the country will die for $1 million, right? To make a great living. Why do you need 12? I think the actual 11 is too much. We'll be generous and keep you 1 mil, right? I think actually she's against millionaires too. So maybe like just give you 999,000 and I could take the rest and redistribute it. I think that's pretty fair. This is so utterly crazy. It's kind of nonsense, right? It just doesn't add up. Doesn't make any sense. She's saying this for political points, but it has no logic to it. And the people who believe it are just like, that's why I was thinking a lot of people are just sheeps because they can't think on their own or just completely financially illiterate. Because you cannot not understand basic economics at this point. But I believe that's true actually. Like when I was tutoring in school, I literally spent a whole 30 minutes explaining to a kid a midpoint, what a midpoint is. Like I think, by the way, I think she was messing with me. A lot of American kids just don't want to study. Like I was in a special school helping a kid who was like 16 and I already had two babies, which is crazy to me. But yeah, the point was I was telling her what a midpoint on a line is, and she couldn't understand it. But anyways, that's a story for a different time, right? Another thing is this Ro Khanna. I've recently seen him quite a bit after Elon Musk reached trillionaire because he has done a lot of debate that went viral, and he said Musk is worth more than the South Africa GDP. Bernie Sanders and I proposed a 5% tax on him, on people like him. In 1 year, it could fund free public college and trade schools, $10 per day childcare, special needs for education nationwide. Wealth inequality is the moral failure of our time. There are a few things I want to talk about, right? Number one is, again, every time when people bring up the morality, it's so cringe to me. It's so cringe. That means like when you bring up morality, that tells me one thing, that you know what the ultimate morality is. You know what the correct way to think is, which you don't. Nobody can claim that, right? Like, what is the right moral? Who knows? Like, moral changes from the history, like different society, different ages. The morality, the standard of morality has always changed. End of the day, it's what a society have agreed upon in a lot of ways. You know, if you're religious, you can believe the ultimate morality should be judged or decided by God. But then we're not even talking about religions here. It's just that no one can claim they understand the morality over the other fellow people, right? And here, that's one thing. The second thing I want to talk about is taxing 5% of Elon Musk's wealth. My question was, when I first saw this, like, dude, like, how do you actually execute it, right? So do you want to confiscate Elon Musk wealth? Like, in what way? Does he give up 5% of all his stocks to the federal government, and then you guys can sell it or you guys control it? Like, how does it work? But if you do that, that's still paper money. That's not real money. You cannot use that to fund all this. In order to have real money, you need to sell all his asset. And even if you sell the asset, you're going to trigger something called capital gain tax, right? And you have to pay taxes to the federal government on that sale. That means he can't just sell 5%. He have to sell 5% plus another 20%, right? So 5 times 1.2, basically you have to sell 6% net worth, which will inevitably crash whatever he sells. Because Elon Musk is worth a lot of money. To sell that much money worth of stocks, it will crash the stock, and the price will go way down. So for example, if I think last time I checked, SpaceX was like $160. If Elon Musk sold 6% of it, he will be I think the stock probably go down to like half. And then all of a sudden, he's not worth that much anymore. He's worth $400 billion with SpaceX and 200 something with Tesla, and $600 billion. He's not a trillionaire anymore. Then, did you refund him like for the money that you over confiscated? Like, how does it work? Because this is paper money, right? There's a serious argument to be made. Okay, well, what the rich people do? They use the paper money to borrow money from the bank, and they use the money they borrowed against their asset to not pay taxes, to have a luxurious lifestyle and never need to do anything. Sure, there is a serious argument to be made with that, right? Why is that allowed? You can talk about that all you want. I'm not an economist, right? But I think if a serious argument comes up, I'm interested to learn about it to see why is that allowed, and is there a loophole that can be closed? I think a lot of politicians have brought it up. That's a serious argument. But to say that you're gonna tax 5% of his net worth is like, how? I just don't. Dude, this is stupid. And these guys are not stupid. Everybody I just mentioned, right? AOC, Bernie Sanders, this Roe guy, Elizabeth Warren. I think they're all highly educated, super smart people. So in a way, it goes back to what I was saying. I don't think they're doing it because they don't understand economy or economics 101. They're doing it simply. They're treating everyone in their constituents like a sheep, right? Because they're just fooling them. They're saying random stuff that doesn't make sense, but it sounds good on paper. And for people who are stupid, they will fall into it, right? Like that's literally what it is. Because anyone who understands economics 101 will say this is just retarded. Like, why are you saying that? Right? It doesn't make sense. Like, give me one solution that this will be actually feasible. It's similar. I'll give you another example, and this is so easy to understand. There's something that's really weird in America. It's like the homestead, your house, your property tax, right? Because the tax based on the market value, what the government deem it is. which changes all the time. But now a lot of states, including Texas, have homestead exemption, right? So, but you also have to hire agencies, pay them money for them to go negotiate with the government. There are a bunch of random stuff. But the idea is the government want to tax property, your homestead, based on their supposed value of the property. Now, this is super weird because we know real cases in 2022 when Austin's houses boomed, went crazy bananas, right? And then somebody bought a house that was worth $750,000 at the time. The next year, it was worth $500,000. They pay taxes on a house that's not worth $750 anymore. But on the first year, they pay tax for $750,000. And the second year, they have to pay tax on the $500,000, right? Because the house is worth less. So do you give the money back to them now? Like, how does that work? Because the thing about like house value is it's not a real value until you sell. Until we actually sell the house, this house doesn't generate wealth for me. In fact, I have to spend money on the house. It's an asset, but it's not a profitable asset, right? It doesn't generate anything for me at all. It's not a cash flow asset. So how do you judge the value of the house and keep on taxing? Basically, in a way, now come back to Elon Musk wealth. How can you possibly tax paper wealth? You can't. The better thing to do, I think, is close loopholes. So the trillionaires, billionaires doesn't borrow against their asset and not pay taxes. That's much more productive than having this discussion, right? But they won't say that because it goes against the narrative, I feel like. By the way, there's some response that people had. I think it's totally legit. It's kind of funny too. So Geiger Capital says Elon Musk employs 160,000 Americans and in one morning created thousands of millionaires. I think 4,400 was the SpaceX IPO. I don't know exactly how that works or if they can sell the stock right away, but they can cash out. And a lot of employees, to be honest, if they're worth that much, they probably hold the stock, right? And then, to be honest, holding the stock in a company, a lot of them just believe in the future because they don't need the money right now. They have a comfortable paycheck from SpaceX. Why would they sell their stock for more money? Unless you need to buy a house. Well, it's a different story. Anyways, you have done nothing for America. This is absolutely true. Like, politicians are takers. They don't generate anything. They just take money from taxpayers. They don't pay taxes. You can easily argue that the politicians never pay taxes because their money, their income is taxpayer money. So someone who have never paid a penny in taxes is now asking someone who has generated arguably most amount of jobs in the United States, paid the most amount of taxes any single person can pay in history, to do something that's impossible. Pay 5% of the paper net worth, right? And Bill Ackerman says, worse than nothing, she has done considerable harm to the country. I don't know. I don't follow politics that much, so I don't know enough about what harm Elizabeth Warren have done. This I won't comment on. But this is a great comment. It's absolutely true. The contracts, because I'm using cultural perspective to compare this, right? We believe in action speak louder than words, and I think that American culture, a lot of them, common sense people say, believe in the same. Most of the time, though, what I find in politics is people believe words are more important than actions, which speaks to the sheep nature of the crowd, right? Why do you keep on believing random shit that people says instead of just looking at what they have done in their lives? Like this lady is a politician, If you want, the hypocrisy is insane, right? Like, if you want to redistribute wealth, just start from yourself first and say, hey, this is what I have done. You will gain so much respect from me, right? If Elizabeth Warren lived frugally and all her paycheck after what she needed, just spend all the money to give to poor people and help them. Doesn't matter. We're talking about if that's harming them or making them dependent or not. That's a different point. But the idea is that's what she actually did. Donate to church, donate to hospitals. Bro, you have my support. You're actually believing in your own philosophy. But the worst thing a human can do, a person can do, is talk the talk and walk the opposite walk. Right? It just makes no sense to me. It's stupid. And this is Elon Musk's own response to Elizabeth Warren in 2021. So we can take a look.
Please don't call the manager on me, Senator Karen.
She called me a freeloader and a grifter who doesn't pay taxes, basically. And I'm literally paying the most tax that any individual in history has ever paid this year, ever. And she doesn't pay taxes, basically at all. And her salary is paid for by the taxpayer, like me.
Could you even do this?
If you could die by irony, she would be dead.
Please don't call the manager.
That's absolutely true. That's what I was saying. She's probably the most hypocritical politician I've ever seen. the stuff that she says, and also like manipulative, right? It's really scary. This type of personality is really scary because like she clearly understand economy. She clearly understand economics 101, and she's purely doing this to manipulate people, to rile them up against people like Elon Musk who earn their own money, who never stole, right? And by the way, for people like who criticize his wealth, I really don't understand the same as Steve Jobs. Apple got rich, super rich by selling computers and iPhones. They never stole anything, right? It's not like they're stealing money. And Steve Jobs become multi-billionaire, extremely successful. And a lot of time, at the time, I think a lot of people were criticizing him. Like, brother, do you understand how he got rich, right? While holding an iPhone and criticizing Steve Jobs, you use his phones. That's how he got rich, because it's an actual product. Whether you like the founder or not, you like the product because it has created so much value for you. That's how they get rich. I wish I can create a product that people use, and then that's how I get rich, right? Like, you have to create some value for the society, for massive amount of people. The more people who you create value for that they see as valuable, the more money you're gonna have, right? Like, it's basic. It's the same thing as, like, I think Jeff Bezos recently did an interview right after, I forgot what triggered him to do the interview. It was right around when Blue Origin had explosion for the rocket. And he said he has done a lot more with his for-profit company than all his non-profit charitable act combined, which is so true, right? Like, he has done so much more because, like, Amazon have employed, I don't know how many people, insane amount. There are Amazon factories all over Austin right now, like, you know, factories. There are different warehouses. There are tons of people employed there. You know, people who are sending packages. We're Prime members. We order stuff almost every week, almost like every other days. You know, we order too much. But the idea is he offers a lot of value with them. Like, we actually like to use them. Free stuff, nobody, if you think about it, free stuff, people don't care about the value, right? And this is a great message from AOC, right? Let's take a listen. I believe she was a bartender who turned into a politician, because the politicians in modern days are just sweet talkers. They know how to talk. They know how to mesmerize the sheeps. And this is one of the great example of it.
Dude is probably one of the most unintelligent billionaires I have ever met or seen or witnessed.
She's laughing because she knows she's retarded.
Which, you know, you can probably even glean that from watching these people on TV.
This takes retarded.
Anyways, all of that is to say is that they don't do their homework. Clearly, like, they're putting 19-year-olds in at the Treasury. This dude is not smart.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's enough, right? The most important thing is AOC said Elon Musk is one of the most unintelligent billionaires, bro. This will get national outrage in China. I'm not even kidding. Like, post this, and then with the Chinese subtitles and people can understand it. I would tell you now, like, if this is available in Chinese social media, and this will go absolutely viral, and about 99.9% of the people will call her retarded. I'm not even kidding, right? This is such a retarded take. Like, who are you? Who are you, actually? You know, to Elon Musk have generated so much wealth for the society. And then personally, I've taken advantage too. Like, me and my wife, we own Tesla stocks, and it's gone up, I don't know how much. If we cash out, we'll make a lot of money out of it. What value have you generated for me, right? Like, Elon, we own Tesla products, Starlink. We own Starlink. Sorry, we own Elon Musk products. We own Tesla stock, both of which have generated tremendous amount of value for us. What about you? Why are you so smart, right? Because he's calling Elon Musk being one of the most unintelligent billionaire. My question is, like, have you ever looked yourself in the mirror once before you say this? And people listen to this type of nonsense, right? Like, this bothers me, you know? Like, bothers me on how easy you can manipulate people in this country. Literally, people don't use their common sense. Like, what literally have you done? Even the sheeps, right? You'll say, like, people are sheeps in general. There's sheeps everywhere. Even sheeps in Asian country look at this, will just call her stupid. Like, this is actually a retarded take. I don't even know how she got into position of so much power. The Socrates have said, just random democracy is bad. I think he got stoned to death after that for saying that, because Socrates thinks voting should require skills. Voting is a skill. It needs to educate people so they understand what they're voting before they can vote. I totally agree, you know, because you wouldn't have bunch of people voting who is the best looking pilot, best sweet talking pilot to pilot the plane that you're sitting in, right? Like, why would we just randomly vote people like that lady AOC earlier to literally decide how our life is? They are the lawmakers. They decide how our law is, right? How our life is. Their policies, their actions have direct impact on our day-to-day lives. Like how does this happen? You know, like from where we grew up, only the most competent people, well, supposedly, can be politicians, right? Only the most competent people can take certain jobs in most of the positions. You can say there's corrupt cases for sure, but most of the time, the people in the position where they are in, because they're competent, they're able to do it. And you talk to them, they talk technicality to you because they understand what they're doing. In this case, what has her done? I don't understand. I don't understand. I remember there was when I first started learning politics, I remember she was leading something called a Green New Deal, but I didn't learn too much into it. I don't know what happened to that. But the idea is, I don't think she have done anything for her own people or besides for herself. She has made a one millionaire, which is herself. She's super wealthy now, right? She take private jets with her. I don't know how that happened, right? Like who is sponsoring that? But she travels around, first class, private jets, private security, taxpayer funded security, all that kind of stuff, while her people are suffering. And Elon Musk is the most unintelligent person on the planet. I like it, right? This amount of hypocrisy and just self-awareness, lack of self-awareness is on the next level. Every time when somebody have never done anything or achieved anything in their life, criticize people have done so much, it baffles me. It's like stuff that I never understand, right? I can't, like that's why some really successful people, when they say stuff I might not agree with, but instead of criticizing what he says is right or wrong, my first reaction, or at least like the Chinese culture's first reactions, usually reflect inwards and see if there's anything that I can learn, or if there's anything that I thought I was wrong. I would never try to criticize it immediately, because it makes, like, if somebody's so rich, for example, like Elon Musk, and saying stuff like he obviously doesn't care about money, there's clearly a reason behind it. What is that reason, right? Is it a market opportunity? Is he trying to push something like more important? What is the reason why he's doing it? That's usually the thinking process. But instead of doing that, she just goes on social media and, makes herself look like a fool, which, okay. Anyways, another one that's really funny, which is Hasan. I get to know this guy because of his beef with Asmongold. He tweeted, "You are a multimillionaire because Ben Shapiro says multimillionaire paid by multimillionaires, so we're angry at a trillionaire," which is true, because there are a lot of, on X, there are a lot of multimillionaires, different streamers who are saying that, complaining about Elon Musk's wealth, which I think the fundamental psychology behind it is jealousy, right? Because they're not worth trillions of dollars and they want more money because they want a private jet. Millionaire doesn't get you the private jet, but Elon Musk has private security, private jet, all that kind of stuff, because that's a multi-trillionaire status, right? And then they're jealous. So Ben Shapiro said multi-millionaire paid by multi-billionaires, very angry at trillionaires. And then Hasan Abi said, "You're a multi-billionaire paid by a multi-billionaire to defend a trillionaire." And there's a response to it. Because this is Hasan, right? He's probably the most showy streamer who advocate for redistribution of any rich people's wealth, while himself is worth a lot of money, shitloads of money. I think he probably makes close to $1 million a year, because last time in a podcast listening, he said he makes about 600,000, but that's usually on the lower end from what we know about streamers. He probably makes a lot more. And then with sponsorship, different deals he gets himself into, this are all luxury brands that he's wearing. Everything on his body is, I think if you combine everything on his body, just the outfit alone, he probably, like, just a drip is probably $10,000 minimum, because he's not even showing shoes or whatnot. This guy is so showy. Like, he want to make sure every time he go outside, he only wear the most expensive shit. Because there's actually a report coming out saying like he's a sex addict, which he admit himself, right? Like, he loves females. All right. So showing off, he loves to show off as well. But this is the opposite of what he preaches. This is similar to what we just talked about with Warren. If you preach redistribution of wealth, it's easy to argue that what's wrong with a shirt that you can buy from, Walmart, Costco? We buy them all the time. Socks, right? Underwear. What's wrong with those? What's wrong with, why do you have to wear a $3,000 ring or a $700 t-shirt? Why do you have to wear designer brands? Like, it's not necessary. You know, a $10 Temu shirt would suffice, right? If you can buy a $10 sweater from Amazon, that should be enough. Why? Like, if you are talking about all this hatred towards people who made it in life, like you, why not just start from yourself, right? Because that's what I don't understand, right? Because all his followers, I think they're just simps because he's a handsome man, very tall, you know, and he lost a lot of weight compared to what he was 10 years ago. So very tall, good looking. So I think those girls just want his attention. That's what I really think. Because it's any reasonable person looking at this and be like, this is literally a walking mirror of hypocrisy. It doesn't make sense. Like he shows off his wealth, flaunt his wealth all the time. Compared to Asmongold. Asmongold makes probably 10, if not 20x more than him. Asmongold never shows off his wealth. He's just the same dude. Same dude that started the World of Warcraft live stream probably decades ago, right? Because he doesn't care. And he just say whatever he wants. He has so much money. Even if he get fully canceled, he will live probably one of the most comfortable life in history, right? Like in humankind. He's in Austin. He can buy any house Austin has to offer in the market. And he doesn't do that because he doesn't care. Asmongold is the actual person who doesn't care about wealth. And he doesn't criticize it either. Where this guy, he criticizes people having money while he shows off the most amount of money, right? How about not do that? Like, doesn't make any sense. Recently, he got in another controversy of, I think he was saying that because a chatter, one person in the chat was saying like, why do you ask for donation? You're already so rich. He said, I basically need donation to fund my wealth, which is like, brother, you can't be that. You just can't, right? Like, you just can't be that, right? Like, let's listen to him similar to AOC calling Elon Musk stupid. It's kind of funny.
Lying is OP and money is fake. This story that we are watching unfold in front of us, meritocracy is a lie. Lying is OP and money is fake. This story that we are watching unfold in front of us is a great example of all three of those classic Hasan tropes that I advance over and over again. Okay? Elon Musk is a fucking failure. And yet, in spite of his failures, because he lucked into a initial.
How's Elon Musk a failure? I don't get it. I don't understand. Where does he get his, like, he's watching Elon Musk become a first trillionaire, which is arguably the best societal recognition of his success. And this guy says he's a total failure for some reason. I mean, look, Elon Musk have never gone to any public social media event dressed in the way that, well, he just dressed normally, but he has never tried to do this. If you look at the way that he's talking and dressed, right? This is obviously trying to show off, look how good looking I am. Like, he's trying to get girls. This is an actual look to get girls. Having a glass of wine on live stream, looking all fancy, right? He clearly is a guy who cares about his look because it's very, very important. This image is very, very important in the sexual market. Totally okay, in my opinion, right? Totally fine. That's just your brand, their image. Elon Musk is a person who self-studies, self-learn aerodynamics, self-learn a bunch of stuff, started businesses, offered jobs. I wonder what you have done on the other side, calling Elon Musk a failure. This is so funny because like all his followers support it too. And I don't know, I think he probably have one of the best female to male ratios in the entire streaming atmosphere as a guy. Because he's a good looking dude. He's by all standards, he's a really good looking dude, extreme, like very tall, and also makes shitloads of money. More than that, he came from a very successful family where he started off really rich, right? He was really, really rich. Right? His family was rich. His career got jump started by his cousin, I believe. You know, like he came from a really good family. So this is, I don't know. I mean, I'm not as wealthy as he is, but I don't hate wealth, right? I understand when I see Elon Musk getting that much money And then other people they're also a Chinese person, a Chinese girl who worked at SpaceX, now worth tens of millions of dollars because of the IPO. I mean, like when you look at those success, just inspire me more. I don't know if, for those who are watching, like you in front of TV, what did it do to you? But it just inspires us to work harder and, invest and make more money. And if you do that, you will eventually enjoy the American dream. It's just a matter of time, right? It's just like, when can you get that, right? Somebody, I think all of us are trying our hardest to fast track that, but it's a matter of time. If you just work hard, consolidate, invest, smartly, and don't day trade, buy a Vanguard fund, index fund for the next 30, 40 years, compound over 13%, 14% year after year, you're going to be a multi-millionaire, tens of millions of dollars by the time you retire. And I use that to get 4%. You just don't want to spend your assets. You use that 4%, $400,000, few $100,000 a year you can spend. You don't need Social Security. You're going to have tons of money to spend, right? So this is Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban come out in Elon Musk's defense as well. The reason why anyone gets insanely rich is almost always because of the stock market, which is true. It's certainly how Elon Musk did. And the reason they get rich from the stock market is because 150 million people, Americans, decided they wanted to own share of the stocks directly or through their retirement plans or through other approaches, way of building their net worth and trying to create better life for themselves. 150 million Americans, about 60% of the adults, effectively believe that Elon Musk and many billionaires could make them wealthier and help them achieve a better life. If you want Elon Musk and most billionaires to no longer be that rich, convince that 150 million to sell their stocks, funds or ETF, whatever. Of course, you could wipe out the net worth of most of those people and everyone else saving as the market crashed and brought down the economy and created the worst depression we ever seen. This is absolutely true, right? Like this makes so much sense. This makes too much sense, right? Because he's also a multi-billionaire and he understands money more than majority of the people, I would say, right? I also watch a Shark Tank show to see how they invest or whatnot. You cannot get more true than this. This is so true. This is just common sense. We own stocks. You own stocks. You're watching this, right? If you don't own, you should own some stocks. Because stock from Warren Buffett's perspective is a piece of the company. If you believe the company will grow, if you believe American society will grow eventually in 50 years, you should own stock. You should own American society. You should in a pie of it, a piece of the pie, right? So that's what stock is. And all of us have stocks through our work, through our personal investment, all that kind of stuff. That's basically how those people get rich because they have majority share and not through stealing because they just own it. And other people want a piece of it. That's how those people get rich. They're basically the American society as a whole valued them at that kind of valuation, right? The American society as a whole recognized Elon Musk as a trillionaire. That's how he became a trillionaire. If IPO of SpaceX completely flopped and nobody believed in his future, because the IPO was 100x of SpaceX earning, which is ridiculous, right? But if you think about it, why do people still flock to buy the IPOs? People were trying to buy 200,000 shares, got one share. People were trying to buy 10 shares, got one share. Why did they all went crazy to buy those stocks? Because they believe they want a piece of that future with Elon Musk. I don't think they want any piece of future with Elizabeth Warren or AOC in it. What have they done? They have not done anything. By the way, recently gas prices are coming down. I'm very happy about that. So, and then I think last night, Trump just announced the Iran war is coming to an end. Thank God. Right? Look at the gas prices affected by it. It went from $4.25 in Austin at its peak, $4.15 actually, from what I saw, down to now $3.25 yesterday. When I saw at a random gas station, a Chevron outside, it was pretty cool. Anyways, this is the people's common sense take from people who are actually knowledgeable that want to share. Right? This is a very common sense take. It's really good, and this is a response to Roe, the person who want to tax 5% along with Bernie Sanders to Elon Musk's net worth. Right? So Yogi responded, "Bro, you're lying and you know it." That's what I'm saying, right? Because these people, the Roe guy, the senator, they're obviously intelligent. They obviously know about the economics, but they're just lying. They're just being insincere. They're treating people like sheep. So this response is, I think it's a really good read. So I want to read it. You compare a man's net worth to a country's GDP, a balance sheet to a year of output. You went to Yale, you learn the difference between a stock and annual output flow. But being a politician and lawyer, you love to lie and gaslight economic illiterates. It's your entire business model, which is so sad and it's allowed. You want a 5% tax on Elon's to fund free trade school for every American. Trade schools cost $80 billion a year. You can't even fund a year. Basically, in a way, you have to keep on taxing Elon's net worth the paper net worth every year in order to fund the stuff that he wanted to fund. Elon doesn't have $55 billion in cash. It's stock. You know this. To pay, he sells roughly 70 billion of Tesla and SpaceX shares, and that sell itself gets taxed on top. SpaceX raised 75 billion at its IPO. Think about that. If SpaceX only raised $75 billion, which is a lot of money. I shouldn't say only, but he would have to sell $70 billion worth of stock to pay the taxes. Imagine him selling that amount every year. That's what I'm saying. It's going to crash the stock market. Unlike any of the politicians, who are just in their imaginary land. This will actually just crash the stock market. Look at Michael Saylor. He sold 32 Bitcoins and Bitcoin crashed. Like what? Brother, like literally the guy owns, I don't know, tens of thousands of Bitcoins, and then MicroStrategy owns hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins. He stole 32. For whatever reason, the stock market crashed. Give me a break, right? Like, not stock market, the Bitcoin market crashed, right? So imagine him selling that amount every year. They're always taxing Elon. He's taxing everyone who exposure to the market, who has exposure to the market. Every pension fund and index fund on the planet gets wrecked. And given row, he will inside trade and short before the bill pass. That's absolutely true. And this is something I don't know if they can ever fix, right? This is one of those patch notes you just can't fix. There's a loophole that cannot be fixed. Because like if you are a politician, think about like any one of you watching, you're a politician. You get information, majority, I wouldn't say every single one, would tell their close circles of family members, friends, hey, by the way, we're going to pass a huge bill to this and that, maybe you can do something, buy some stocks. Hey, John, you want to buy some Tesla stocks? A new EV bill is going to get passed. You're going to do that. Like majority of people would do that. You will do that yourself but maybe there's, suspicion of inside trading. So you wouldn't do it yourself personally, but you have your advisor do it. You'll call your banker. Hey, Jimmy, it's time. Okay. You remember the EVs? You remember the Tesla stock we talked about last month? Yeah. We're going to pass that tonight. Yeah, that's going to happen. And I don't know how to patch that. I think people who go into politics, maybe there's a rule that they can only buy index fund where their money is somehow linked to the U.S. market, or they cannot trade individual stocks anymore. Whatever they had before is whatever they have now. I think that should be fair because they're there to serve. And then by the way, I listened to some politicians call their fellow politicians, doing politics a sacrifice, serving the public. I was like, what exactly did they sacrifice? They're in Washington, D.C., taxpayer money, taxpayer food, taxpayer security. Everything is paid for. They live extremely well. They're paid super well. What exactly is a sacrifice they're making? This is very different from army. People who go to the war and put their life on the line for stuff they don't even understand, right? Because the politician made a decision for them to go to the war. That's a sacrifice for stuff they can't control, right? What did a politician sacrifice? They didn't go to the war. They just sit in a comfortable office, fully air conditioned, and make up random shit that destroy American economy. Like where is a sacrifice? I don't understand. By the way, I think that politician was a Republican. It was kind of interesting. But the point is, the role isn't taxing Elon, which I 100% agree. If this bill passes, they will do inside trading, and he will make a lot of money on the back of American people, right? And for what? The rip capital from the best allocator alive and hand it to the most incompetent institution in human history, which is the government, which is totally true, right? Just look at all this fraud and stuff that's happening in California. Not a single mile of high-speed rail has been laid. After billions of dollars have been spent. I mean, and people keep on voting for that. Just either they support it or they're getting a cut, right? Or it just tells you, but I don't think people are that stupid because I think that's arrogant to say. I think the system is just fully fraudulent. To have any common sense people to believe the voting system is legitimate as of now is crazy. It's madness. It's actually madness, right? Because you can't. You look at California, people who live there, people who actually live downtown or live close to the beach. You look at what's going on and you say, okay, people keep on voting for this. Dude, you must be crazy. You have to be crazy. Because nobody will do that. Nobody will vote for that. It's insane, right? To look at all the fraud that happened in Cali. And people say, oh, I'm going to keep on voting for it. Yeah, this is public's will. This people's will. Because they wanted to vote for this politician. No way. I don't think people are that stupid. I don't believe, fundamentally, I don't believe people are sheeps, right? I think humans, by creation are independent thinkers. But I might be wrong, Anyways, so Elon turned PayPal gains into Tesla, SpaceX, 120,000 jobs, launch costs down by 90%, two industries that didn't exist, $1.77 trillion company from nothing. This is called wealth from expansion, right? From technology created by Elon Musk. It's absolutely true, right? Because Elon Musk fundamentally believes that wealth have to be created, expanded, instead of the other way. It's like the same philosophy. Its fundamental philosophy behind it is like if the glass half full or the glass half empty, right? Because if you believe that there's only so much wealth to be in the entire world, and the only way to give wealth to the poor is through redistribution of the top, then that's what you believe. If you believe that wealth can be generated by human ingenuity, then that's what you believe. I happen to be the second one, right? I believe that the wealth have to be created through creation of technology, through creation of more opportunities. And there's infinite amount of opportunities that can be created, especially with space now being discovered as one territory, one new category of real estate. There are just infinite amount of opportunities in the future. I certainly want my kids to go. The reason why I want to live closer to Elon Musk, I want my kids to become an astronaut, to go into the space. You have never built anything. You have never employed anyone. Keep on reading, right? You have never created dollar value in your life. You collect government salary and demand tribute from men who do what you can't. Your machine spends $7 trillion a year and still runs a $1.8 trillion deficit. It loses up $520 billion a year to fraud, more than your entire tax raises. The Department of Education went from $34 billion in 2000 to $260 billion in 2024, 8 times the money. Reading score at multi-decade lows. Trade schools still unfunded. You don't lack money, you lack competence, and you want Elon to subsidize it. You haven't donated your wealth, you haven't moved into government housing. Empty your accounts first row, then preach. That's exactly what I'm saying. By the way, everything held here is the exact reason why we can't give more money to these politicians, right? Like, I don't understand. If anything, it's not these people, right? Because my money have multiplied with Elon, with stocks, with just different value have created. My money have disappeared with these people, right? Literally, because the last thing I like is tax. I thought American society was founded by taxation without representation. Literally, that's what's happening, in my opinion. We pay taxes. What do we gain from it? Nothing. I don't know. I don't know what I gain from it. Now the gas price finally coming down. Thank God, right? Anyways, you haven't donated your wealth. This is hypocrisy, by the way. This is exactly what I'm saying. All those politicians who are preaching this, they should look in themselves in the mirror. And I don't know, if they're narcissistic enough to not do that, what about the people who voted them in? Seriously speaking, you can't be that stupid. You can't be fooled over. Fool me once, it's on me. Fool me twice, I'm just stupid. What? How? If somebody keep on sweet talking you and say all this kind of great stuff, the first time you don't know them, you can believe them. It's okay, right? Everybody make a mistake and you don't know who they are. And then we approach everybody with kind heart, with trust. And it makes sense, sure. But if you get fooled by the second time, then you're just, it's your problem. It's not that person's problem. He might be a horrible person, but it's really your person, because I have been fooled multiple times. And I've told myself I'm just stupid. So it's harder to fool myself to fool me now. When I look at someone, whatever they say, my response is usually, okay, sounds good, sure. And then I only judge them by what they do. Whatever they say, I just see that as a personality trait, right? If you how you like to talk, this person extrovert, introvert. Well, end of the day, how I judge this person is 99% based on their action, right? Is this person a doer, or does his action go completely against what they say? And most of the politicians in America are like that. Their action is exactly the opposite of what they say. It's zero accountability, nothing. Nothing is done. Nothing's done, right? Look at Trump. He actually you have to get shit done. He's a doer. He talk a lot of flamboyant stuff, but it's funny to watch. But at the end of the day, he has made a lot of things happen. Good or bad, you can criticize him being good or bad, but most of them are stuff he preached before he got into office, right? That's why people, we can make an episode about Chinese people's opinion about Trump, but it's mostly positive, actually. Surprisingly, when I went to China, I went to a college, it was largely respect, and because they don't know what Trump's going to do, and they said in a way that's a respect, because that means they have to be really cautious working with Trump, right? They don't know what he's going to do. And in the business world, because we have a lot of our families in business in China, and we have a lot of people in the business circle all have the same opinion. It's largely respect, because this guy actually makes shit happen. But here, In America, it's a mixtape, and I can understand that mixed feeling. End of the day, you just have to look at people's actions because words are just worthless. It's worthless. Elon's options, let's keep on reading. Options get taxed as ordinary income at the top rate when exercised. Over $500 billion in lifetime taxes, the largest tax stream from one human ever. You want $55 billion now in a way that creators, the share of $500 billion depends on. Your tax doesn't raise money. It kills the companies, kills the jobs, kills the pensions, and tortures the bigger check already in the mail. You are a monkey in the middle row. You can't build, you can't allocate, you can't even count. So eat from everyone else's pie and call it fairness. That's such a good post. This is such a good post, right? I recommend I want to send this link in the description so you guys can read this post. This is such a good post. This is a beautiful post. I saved it. This because Rose says, Brad, 5% tax on Elon's trillion net worth would literally pay for free college trade school for every American. Like, you can't be that insincere. This is such a good post from Yogi. I think this is amazing, incredible. You guys can read it. All right, there's another person, Martin, another common sense take, says, when I give my savings to Elon Musk, they multiply. When I give them to you, all of the U.S. government, they disappear. 100% true. This Elon Musk says, another response to Elizabeth Warren. Yeah, 100% true. And there's another response. Again, for those in the back, Elon once offered to cut a check for $6 billion to WFP, I think World Food Bank, to eliminate world hunger. As they said the money could. His one condition was that counting was public. They did not accept. This is what I'm saying, bro. All the NGOs, all this non-profit organizations have to be replaced by AI. I think the first thing to replace in all the world is non-profit organizations and NGOs. These are all frauds. I don't think any, I don't want to be extreme. I think a few of them were created out of the good intentions. The school organizations that says we're going to do stuff for goodness of the students all need to be replaced by AIs. This job should not exist. These are jobs that can disappear, because it's all fraud. It's all fraudulent. And the sad part is we're not part of it. These people fraud government money, which is taxpayer money, or print the money either way. I think they don't feel bad because they also know a lot of the money they defrauded from the American taxpayer, also government printed money. So okay, well, they can print infinite amount of money. They can just print more. Give me some, right? Let me look good. You can understand that sentiment, Is it right thing to do? No, but you can understand the sentiment. So here's the same thing. Why all of a sudden, if accounting, is you have to be accountable to accounting, you don't want to accept the money? It's literally just because they know where the money went. Majority of it went to an administrative cost, right? Which is like salaries. And there's a video from my favorite podcast, Joe Rogan podcast, talking about this exact thing. So let's listen to it.
Profit hospitals as hedge funds with hospital beds.
Persons say that nonprofit hospitals were like hedge funds with hospital beds, and I was like, I bet they are. What's going on here? Because in the United States, more than half of our hospitals are nonprofits. But the hospital world doesn't feel very non-profity. And then I read this article by Scott Hodge in the Washington Post that talked about how they need to be taxed. And it turns out that the total revenues of nonprofit hospitals in America in 2023, so 3 years ago, was $1.3 trillion. And it turns out that they're getting a bunch of taxpayer money. In fact, 3 years ago, so this is probably a lot more now, nonprofit hospitals were making $45 billion worth of profit. And as I mentioned, we taxpayers give them a bunch of money. In fact, in 2021, we gave them $38 billion. $11.5 billion of it because they don't have to pay any taxes. And that was 5 years ago. So this is probably more like 60 billion now. And the reason that we hypothetically give them this money as taxpayers is because they're supposed to do charity. But there was a study that looked at almost 1,500 nonprofit hospitals and found that 86% of them provided little or no charity. And that's because
That's damn. Why are we paying taxes, guys? Can you leave a comment and say why you're paying taxes? Is it just because they're required? Is there any other reason? Tell me. For me, I think it's just because it's required. But why are you paying taxes? Do you just love the government that much?
everybody that goes to hospitals has insurance. It's either private health insurance or insurance from the government. Only 3% of people don't have health insurance, and it's not like the hospitals give them a deal. Turns out that the government was checking this out around 2009. The hospitals spun up a lobbying campaign and got any requirements that would basically define what kind of charity they would have to do squashed. So now it's kind of the honor system. So I was like, where are those billions of dollars going that the nonprofit hospitals make in profits? Turns out it goes to executives, like these CEOs who are getting paid about $4.5 million a year. Meanwhile, their nurses make about 70K.
Damn.
$4.5 million a year here. Apparently, management consultants getting billions of dollars from nonprofit hospitals.
Nonprofit hospital have CEOs apparently making $4 million a year.
And here's a guy, Robert, at a hospital in New York who paid himself $15.3 million a year.
What the
Nonprofit hospital. And there are really good nonprofit hospitals that are primarily funded by donations and serve low-income families and people in need, like St. Jude or like the Shriners. But it looks like about 86% of these nonprofit hospitals get 50 or 60 billion dollars from U.S. taxpayers like you and me because they're supposed to do some form of charity. But they paid off the government so they don't have to really do charity. And some of their CEOs are making $15.3 million a year.
Bro, I know this like because I have some friends who told me that they want to start a nonprofit, and I know one person in real life who actually owns a nonprofit. They do that fully for tax purposes, like, and also for government grants because they get a lot of project from the government. Because I literally don't understand how they made money. They live in California. I was like, Cali lifestyle is expensive. And then I don't see them doing much projects at all, but they all have really good lifestyle. It's like, how did they make money? This is how. This is actually how. Like, if anything, AI should replace this type of job first. Like, nonprofits should not exist in a way, right? I think like those are all, well, I wouldn't say that. There are some actually good nonprofits, but what I mean is nonprofits should be organized, led by AI. It should not be managed by humans anymore. It's all scams. All scams.
While we subsidize them with like $50 billion. Do you think this is right? I saw this congressperson.
Maybe we should start one. We should start one together, and we'll redistribute the money among the subscribers. You know, be like, whoever join our nonprofit is a founding member, and we do games to help autistic kids. Yeah, and we'll just share the money among like everybody who's watching.
This is P. Davis Jones on Instagram. Motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just like the UFO thing.
Yep.
There's
Distractions.
there's so much to pay attention to. There's so much fucking fraud.
Damn, this is so insane. This is so insane. I do not understand how this is. How I don't know how this is allowed. And then this is happening in broad daylight on our eyes. So, anyways, that's basically what happens when you give money to the government. You know, one person, Elon Musk, is probably one of the best money allocator in the world. Again, money to him, he doesn't need it, right? He's allocating it for projects, for stuff that send human to Mars ambitiously in a few years, which I support. I want to be on it, right? And then here is the government, nonprofit, NGOs, USAID, according to Bernie Sanders. Apparently that's stopping poor people from getting help, right? Because US stopped sending money to NGOs. Jeez, I don't know. It goes everything against common sense. Any common sense will just alarm going all over the place. And you're like, oh my God, we're still paying taxes. I understand taxes for social security, for security for the basic function of a modern society, right? The security of it, right? To make sure the basic regulations are in place, and also the defense of a nation, to make sure people can prosper and live and not worry about getting into war all the time or getting invaded. It all makes sense. But the moment when politicians start getting into those programs, man, I always wonder why we need so much taxpayer money when they needed 100-something million. I remember one time I was reading Art of the Deal by Donald Trump, and he was talking about how the New York City couldn't fix the Times Square. And I was reading a post about the toilet on it. I forgot how many millions of dollars he spent on the toilet. Just give it a random private company would do an insane good job with little money. I understand politics is not as simple as we make it is, right? The common sense will tell you, oh, there's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of stuff. You have a lot of regulations, a lot of rules. Who cares? Just because there doesn't make it make sense. Just because there doesn't make it right. We live in a modern age now where technology should change all of that, right? Like how the government money is tracked, how accounting is tracked, how voting is tracked. We have all this technology that can actually track those. We have blockchain that can actually track those, right? I haven't got to that book yet, you know, the blockchain, but where's my book? Doesn't matter. Oh, there it is. Right here. I haven't got to the blockchain basics yet. But there are a lot of technology that you can track all of those. And that I will eliminate fraud that everybody will be happy with. I think 86% of the people supported the voter ID. How do you track them? Like, dude, their technology right at our fingerprints. You know? Fingertips, not fingerprints. What the hell? We're not using them. Why? Because fraud. Leave a comment down below, guys. Let me know what you think. With that, Dave signing off. See y'all next time.